Hello, welcome to Screwball Cinema. This is Nick with another episode of Low Budget Legends, and today we are watching the 2001 film Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. First thing I love in this movie is like the music and the whole scenery. Like it's something that was shot by like a bunch of college age kids like in the early 2000s, and you could totally tell. And those like fucking dirty white Reebok shoes. Yeah, I've never seen a movie that screams more like Y2K, like 2001 than this movie. Like the goth vampire women in the movie, like I swear like every fucking Gen Z girl tries to like copy this aesthetic. It's so awesome. And like the vampires are like all lesbians in this movie. So like this one girl she's like the first to get bitten, she like gets off on it. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, like the vampires look fucking awesome in this movie. Like this opening scene looks like a Dark Throne fucking album cover. And then this like queen of the vampires named Maxine Shrek, she like fucking steals this girl's car and like takes the blood off of her lips and then just like sucks it off and then like fucking hijacks her car. Yeah, one of the best parts about this movie is like it has like a early 2000s punk like 70s revival sound. It's so awesome too. Like the band is called the Hammerheads. That's on the soundtrack, and like they have like a punk rock Jesus Christ song at the beginning cuz like one of the pastors of the church that's sent to find Jesus is like a fucking punk rocker for some reason with like a leather jacket and a mohawk, but he's like wearing that weird fucking priest collar at the same time. And they like meet him at the ocean and he like grabs like a fucking empty bottle of water and he like gives it to them and he like turns into lemonade, which is like kind of funny.
Or hell will come to us.
I'm here to build a kingdom out, my father's kingdom. I cannot rush to the battlements before the foundations are laid, or else the walls will surely collapse.
So one thing that I love about this movie is the film soundtrack. Like in the mid 90s, the drum beat for James Brown's Funky Drummer would be sampled by rap artists and hip hop artists. And in the late 90s, they started to like speed up the BPM on that to basically twice the amount, which turned out to be break beats or jungle music, which is used in like every fucking fight in this movie. It literally turns this film into like a time capsule for the year 2001.
Alvin, Avelino, go bless the lake, quickly!
Yeah, this shit feels like something I'd watch like when I was like 6 years old, like on like Toonami at like 3 in the fucking morning, like an Adult Swim, like when nothing was on. Like something the network would put on to like fuck with people as a prank. Oh yeah, and I just remembered, like, I guess this is like just after The Matrix came out too, so as you can see, they were probably taking a lot of fucking inspiration from that shit. So yeah, those two priests die in the fight, and then Maxine Shrek gets away while the other vampires are killed by Jesus, and then Jesus goes to Ottawa, Canada, he gets like a weird punk rock haircut makeover, which kind of like undermines like the whole fucking theme of this movie. Like I'm like, why the hell would you need to call it Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, but then like make him like fucking Leon the Professional? And then Jesus goes on some like weird fucking song and dance and like Disney style with like a whole like chorus of singing like random people behind him. And then he starts skateboarding, and then when the song ends, everybody like fucking leaves, and then like the priest he's supposed to meet comes up like smoking a cigarette for some fucking reason.
The church maintains this apartment for visiting clergy members and parishioners in need. You can stay here as long as necessary. I've slept in worse places. I'm quite busy with my clerical duties, but it will be good to know where you are.
Yeah, this whole film is like definitely like high school or community college like theater production vibes, but it's like some parts are very fucking endearing. I do love this movie a lot.
That's because we've never talked to you before. We are the atheists.
Look, Jesus, we're taking your second coming as down. Consider this the 13th station of the cross.
Let's get on with the conversions.
Yeah, the soundtrack's fucking awesome, and there's some shots in this movie that look like a fucking Death in June album cover. They're like just so like gorgeously shot on this like actual film camera. It's because it was before digital. That's 100% why. Yeah, but that fucking hard bass style like trance shit that they're playing in the background goes so hard too during this. Like it's I don't know. I love this movie so much. It's so endearing. That's one thing that was awesome about the '90s is like nobody was trying to be like special or anything, so everybody just like just themselves, like as weird as possible. But this is like back before like goth was cool. This was like back when goth was still like technically autistic too. Like this is when like goth was like not a popular subgenre. So Jesus like fights off like waves of like vampire minions, which all look like they literally just grabbed like as many people as they know as possible. And then like for the final boss, they sent in like a white Chinese guy. It's like a white guy pretending to be a fucking like stereotypical Chinese martial arts master. And they're at like a public like park or like golf course.
Real enough for you?
I do love this like awkward couple that's like supposed to be like the boss of the gang of atheists, and like they're like getting ready for the battle, and the girl like grabs her boobs like an ape. It's like a turn of like going to war, and then like the guy's just like some like fucking skinny nerdy fucking dude from their college. And then Jesus like bodies like 30 fucking people in a pile and then it has like this weird tribute to like 70s like black exploitation films whenever it transitions. In that like late stage like French house when they started like implementing like disco elements because of the 70s revival. Oh my god, it's so good. And then Jesus goes back to his apartment and he's met by Mary Magnum, which is a play of Mary Magdalene, who's like a 70s style like or 90s style like female spy, like Charlie's Angels style, and she like gets in the sauna with him for some reason with her laptop and like starts showing her the plan.
Piece of the puzzle.
Let's go then.
Walking around in this thing, it's not exactly inconspicuous. You might as well be wearing a halo. I think we should get you some new clothes. Something a little more urban.
But I have nothing to hide.
Maybe not, but you sure have a lot to show.
So they go clothes shopping and like she gets this like sick like red all body leather outfit, and Jesus like literally is like a ripoff of Leon the Professional, which is like so awesome. And then they like crawl through the vents at the evil lair of Maxine Shrek, and they find out that her and another guy, Johnny Golgotha, he's like this weird like I don't know like surgeon kind of like vampire, but he's like harvesting the skin of like lesbian women so they can be immune to sunlight, which is like straight up one of the most awesome fucking like straight up plot lines ever.
Not a lesbian.
30 minutes or it's free.
I mean, it's a Canadian film from the early 2000s. This is literally like within the same like year or two that like South Park was talking about Terrence and Phillip like parodying the same thing about Canadian comedy being too fucking crude or whatever. Yeah, and I like love the rooftop scenes, how they were like supposed to be like a satire of like 70s cop films, but like the cameras they use, like it literally looks like Kodaks from like fucking my aunt's or like my dad's like fucking 90s photos.
What you're wearing.
And this movie surprised me because with them being like satire of biblical lore, I didn't know if they were gonna follow the same like plot. But apparently, like Mary Magnum, she gets bit on the rooftop scene, and then Jesus has to escape without her. And then Jesus is like all sad, so he goes to this diner, and this like girl gives him like a bowl of cherries, and then the bowl of cherries like has a face, and it starts talking to him in like claymation style, but it's like God.
Jesus.
Is that you, bowl of cherries?
Do bowls of cherries talk, Jesus?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of strange things over the years.
You need help, Jesus, and I have not forsaken you.
Oh, it's you, Dad. So what's your advice?
Seek out the saint of the wrestling ring, son. He will stand alongside you. And call your mom. She misses you.
So God asked Jesus to call on like a famous like luchador like wrestler. It's his name's like El Santo, and he's like apparently like a real fucking wrestler, but like the guy who plays him in the movie isn't like the real El Santo. I guess he's like a guy like pretending to be him. But this was like way like 20 years before Marvel ever made like a fucking official cinematic universe. So like yeah, this shit's way above the curve. I love how like members of the press immediately run to the wrestler before they run to like Jesus Christ, which is like pretty like insane. With like if you were the first reporter to see Jesus Christ, you'd be like rushing for a picture. But yeah, they like go to this like one store that's like affiliated with the vampires, and they're asking to find out the hideout so they can edit once and for all. So they like go infiltrate this like nightclub that the vampires are all hanging out at, and they like get in this like brutal fight with all of them until El Santo and his assistant get captured. And Jesus is like shredding drums until he like tomahawks somebody with a fucking drumstick. And this film came out when I was 6, when I first like gained sentience, like some sort of like memory. But yeah, I do remember people like literally dressing like this. Like everybody had like fucking like Smash Mouth goatee, like NSYNC fucking hair, and like would wear like white t-shirts, and like it was very laid back period. It was weird, very casual. So then Jesus like shaves his hair and like goes like fucking late 90s like taxi driver / like Rambo style onslaught on his enemies until like his mother communicates through like a Virgin Mary candle.
I'm trying to help some lesbians.
Oh, God love them. They get so much done in a day, don't you think?
Yeah, listen, I really have to go. These vampires
Now you're not letting those boys push you around, are you? They might seem bigger than you now, but who do we always say is going to inherit the earth, dear?
The meek, Mom.
That's right, love. Now don't let me keep you. You go on now.
Okay, Mom. Talk to you later. I love you.
So yeah, Jesus like gets confused when Mary Magnum opens the door, and then he forgets she's a vampire, and then she like lets the vampires in, and they capture Jesus. And then they like take him to like some random junkyard, because that's probably where the rest of the fucking film's budget went. And for like the climax of the movie, where there's like they're like a clan of junkyard vampires where they've like captured, basically like converted all the people even like recruited him in the first place. They like use Santo and his assistant as bait.
Time for revelation, my lord.
And then they basically do what the fucking Romans did but it's like 2 Honda Civics, which is like kind of fucked up, but also like kind of humorous at the same time. Like it's yeah.
Any last words, Jesus?
No? I've got a question, though. Why lesbians?
They're deviants. No one will miss them.
There's nothing deviant about love.
Ha! Good one. The truth is as bitter as garlic to them.
And that's why I like this movie. It's not like just like some blatant just like making fun of Jesus. Like it actually like literally keeps that character but it like puts it in this like scenario what like what he would say, which that's like fucking awesome. I love that shit. Santo breaks free and like breaks like the vampire's like fucking back over his knee like Bane and Batman, and then he like bites off like the fucking ropes that are like on Jesus's arms. And there's something trippy about the end of this movie. Like he like kicks like the priest from the beginning of the movie like in the face, but like over with like a fake leg like Zohan. And like they did that like this like 6-7 years before that movie came out.
Here, Jesus, you'll need this to kill that jackrabbit albino son of a bitch. I'm everywhere.
And then Jesus like is able to like teleport and fight in like two places at once, like Luke Skywalker, and like they predicted that before fucking Star Wars came out too. I swear, like Hollywood like will just go look at like lower budget movies and just like rip them off for like, I don't know, just like cheap laughs or thrills in like newer movies, which is kind of dumb. And then Jesus starts fighting like the hacker kid from your fucking theater class, and he like gets two car windshield wipers, and he makes a cross, and the vampire starts like hissing at it. And then the wrestler is like equally matched as like two like clown wrestler buffalo women, which is like kind of weird because like this movie predicted like clown women too. And then Jesus gets stabbed, but he like performs a miracle where like this beam of light comes out of the hole in his chest, and he just starts like, I don't know, like basically disintegrating the vampires to death in this like sick like flashback. And then like the wrestler like puts his shirt over the fucking face of one of them for some reason.
My love cannot heal this woman, my lord. But perhaps yours can. Will you try?
Her soul is in jeopardy, Santos. Just as millennia balance on a sliver of time between the ticks of a clock, so does her soul now stand balanced on a precipice between the unending light of heaven and the undying fires of hell. I can work this miracle, Santos. Through you, and through your love for Maggie. Are you ready to live up to your name?
Yeah, I love like the 16-bit like wavetable synths that they use for the background. It sounds like a Super Nintendo, like the trumpets. It sounds like a fucking Pokemon game on the Game Boy.
Santo he venido.
And then like the one thing that's subversive about this movie is like in real life, like Mary Magdalene like married Jesus, but you think like they're gonna be together, but then she turns out to be like lesbian, and then she's like in love with Maxine Shrek, so Jesus is like bummed out, so like he like goes and revives her anyways because he's Jesus.
But Maggie, aren't you a lesbian?
No, I'm bi.
Yes! Yes! Ha ha!
And then Jesus and Santo start high-fiving. Like, I swear, this movie predicted that before Dodgeball, too. Like, Dodgeball had that same fucking joke at the end of the movie, like, 3 years later. What was it, 2004? And then the narrator, he, like, looks like fucking Rasputin. Like, he looks, like, genuinely fucking scary. And then Jesus celebrates with the entire cast of the movie at once. And then Santos and his, like, bi-girlfriend, like, run off to Mexico. And then Jesus is, like, since he didn't get laid at all because like Mary Magdalene turned lesbian, he like literally takes his assistant. Like his assistant stays with Jesus, and like literally like his assistant, like Santos leaves without his assistant, and then Jesus like grabs her like on the ass, which is awesome. Yeah, and again, the soundtrack rules. Like, this song is called Everybody Gets Laid Tonight by the Hammerheads, which is like the band who did the soundtrack for a movie about Jesus. It's so awesome.